Hi again. In our last two values, we talked about purpose, core action value number 7, and vision, number 8. The grander your sense of purpose, the bigger your vision is, the more important core action value number 9, focus, will be to you. You have to be able and willing to focus on those things that matter, those things that help you achieve your purpose, build that vision, and disregard all of the other stuff if you're going to live your dreams, achieve your goals. Back in the dark days of the Great Depression, a woman named Dorothea Brande wrote one of the first modern self-help books. It was called Wake Up and Live. And there's a chapter in that book called The Will to Fail. And she said people, they may not think they are, but they deliberately set themselves up for failure. And how do they do that? By trying to do so many things all at once that they can't be excellent at the one or two things that are really most important. It's like this massive shell game, you know, whoop, 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 I can't do that because I'm doing this, can't do that because I'm doing this. And you end up not doing anything, but you always have an excuse. Well, I couldn't do that because I was busy doing this. And it is even worse today, even harder today, isn't it? Because we live in a truly ADD world with soundbite TV and internet and email and now texting and cell phones. We have all these bright, shiny objects and we have poppy fields that we can go sleep in. It is much more difficult and much more imperative that you stay focused. And this is one that I personally feel very strongly about because you know what ADD is, right? You've heard of ADD, attention deficit disorder, which, by the way, is not a deficit at all. It should be called attention surplus disorder because people with ADD are trying to pay attention to everything all at once, and that's why they get so overwhelmed. I don't have ADD. I have RB ADD, really bad. And when I was growing up, I was the kid always bouncing off the walls, always in trouble. I have a real-world, gut-level appreciation for just how miserable life can be when you're bouncing off the walls, when you're all over the place. And once I realized that focus isn't just something you do. Focus is a value. It is a commitment to how you live your life. It is a commitment to how you devote your time. It is a commitment to what you choose to pay attention to. When focus becomes a value, it can be a life-changing thing in a very positive way. When I was in business school, we studied something called opportunity cost. And that simply means that if you spend $1,000 on a computer, that's $1,000 you can't spend on advertising or new products or anything else. And that notion of opportunity cost applies across the board. Every hour you spend on something, watching TV, is an hour you cannot spend on anything else, playing with your kids, reading a book. That notion of opportunity cost is so important, especially for time, because once you've spent that hour, it can never come back. You can never re-earn a lost hour. Now, before we get into the cornerstones, one other thing. I'm going to talk about focus as a discipline, and I'm going to talk about being focused on the things that really matter. That does not mean never have fun. That doesn't mean don't watch TV. It just means do it consciously. It doesn't mean don't go shopping. It just means do it consciously. In my Spark Plug newsletter fairly recently, I wrote an article in which I had a picture of me sitting at my computer with a ball and chain around my ankle. Somebody else, Michelle in our office, put the ball and chain. It was a fun thing. It was just a reminder. I had an important priority to get done, and I couldn't leave the prison of my office until I got it done. And it was a little game we played. It was kind of metaphorical visualization, creating a metaphor. I got more responses to that, mainly from people saying, you know, you're saying life's got to be a prison. And quite to the contrary, there's a real paradox. The more willing you are to chain yourself to the work and get it done, the more time you're going to have to play, to read, to go back to school, to go fishing, whatever it is you want to do. So there's that sort of paradoxical blend of enslaving yourself so that you can liberate yourself. And let's look at the cornerstones. And here's some of the key points that I hope you'll remember. First, cornerstone number 1 is target. Know what it is you want. Know what your target in life is, and don't waste your time chasing things you don't want. And don't want things you can't have. I will never be an NFL quarterback. And to sit around doing the Walter Mitty, you know, fantasizing about it is sort of a waste of time and mental energy. Don't chase things you don't really want. And this is not a trick question, but let me ask you. Think about the day you retire. What would you rather have? A healthy body, money in the bank, and rewarding experiences? Or a flabby body, dead broke, and a dead-end job? It's not a trick question, because the choices you make between now and then will have a huge impact on which one of those two scenarios you end up living out. And so many people spend time, spend money chasing things that if you really ask them, is that what you really want? The answer would be no. You've probably heard it said, no one on their deathbed ever says, I wish I'd spent more time in the office. I wish I'd spent more time watching TV. What do people say? And I've asked that question to many, many people. What do you think people regret? What do you think you'll regret? And it's always 4 things. Most important, number 1, I wish I would have spent more time with friends and family. Relationships. Number 2, I wish I would have traveled more. I wish I would have started the business. I wish I would have written the book. Experiences. Number 3, if I'd have known I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself. Health. And number 4, I really wish I would have done a better job of saving and investing so that in my golden years, I would have the money to do the things I always dreamed of doing. Those are the 4 regrets that people toward the end of their lives always express. Relationships, experiences, health, and finances. Think of those as your targets. How can you, starting now, focus your energy, focus your time, focus your financial resources on helping you have better relationships, more experiences, better health, and a better financial position? And this is one area where one of the tools I shared with you earlier, the DDQ, direction, deflection, question, can be so helpful and so powerful. Is what I'm about to do or say right now going to help me hit my target of having better relationships, of having more money in the bank, of being a stronger, healthier person? Is what I'm about to spend my money on, is what I'm about to spend my time on, is what I'm about to put in my mouth? The DDQ, however you want to write that question. And then, every morning get up and write on the back of your hand in a pen, DDQ. As a reminder, when you see the hand reaching for the donut, when you see the hand reaching for your checkbook, stop and ask yourself, am I on target? And if not, stop, ask yourself, what would I do if I were being my best self? Put down the donut and go to the gym. Walk out of JCPenney and go to the library. That will help you stay on target. The second cornerstone is concentration. Once you know what your target is, be willing to concentrate the things, your resources, your time, your money on that goal. If you were to sit down on a thumbtack, I guarantee you, you're not thinking of anything except this one thing, getting up. That's the power of concentration. When you're that clear about what your target is, when you're that committed to it, when you are willing to focus your dissatisfaction on that one thing, ouch, the pain, and get up, you really become a force of nature. I have a sign in my office, both at home and at work, and it says, the one big yes, in all caps, requires lots of little no's. And that's true. Every time you say yes to an hour of TV, every time you say yes to a bag of M&Ms, you're saying no to an hour of playing with the kids, an hour of reading a book, a bag of M&Ms, you're saying no to $1 in your retirement account. Actually $2, because it would take you $2 of pre-tax income to replace the $1 you just spent on the M&Ms. And when you start thinking about that, the opportunity cost of the time you spend, the money you spend, the emotional energy you expend on things, it will help you to concentrate on the things that are most important. And here's a very practical way of looking at it. Earlier on, I talked about the difference between problems and predicaments, and it's in one of the promises of the Self-Empowerment Pledge, problems and predicaments. And the difference is this: a problem has a solution. You can deal with it. A predicament does not have a solution. You have to live with it. If it takes an act of Congress to change whatever it is you're complaining about, that's a predicament, and you're wasting your time whining about it, feeling victimized by it. Ignore it. It is like the weather. You can't affect it. Move on. If it's a problem, stop whining and complaining about it and ask yourself, what do I have to do next to help me deal with that problem? How do I concentrate my time, my energy, my money on this problem? And I want to share one other thing that will help you get more clear about what your target is, and more important, help you concentrate your time, energy, and resources and money on that goal. And that is to keep 2 lists. I hope that you keep a to-do list. I don't know how anybody could get through a day without having some sort of a to-do list. It is a great motivator. In fact, have you ever done something not on your list and gone back and written it down so you could scratch it off? I mean, it's a great source of motivation. But in addition to the to-do list, keep another list that I call your big ticket item list, and that's much shorter, maybe 3, 4, maybe just 2 things. And those are the life goals that you have. I really want to write the book. I really want to get my graduate degree. I really want to start my own business. And every morning, better yet every night before you go to bed, compare the 2 lists. These are my to-do action items for tomorrow, and these are my big ticket goals. Circle or highlight on your to-do list those things that will help you achieve one of your big ticket items. If you're like me, and almost everybody else in the world, precious few of the items on your to-do list, maybe none of them, are going to help you achieve one of your big ticket items. They're not about starting the business or writing the book or whatever it is. They're about getting your job done, getting your bills paid, picking the kids up at school, all the stuff you have to do. And that is a formula for never achieving your big dreams and goals. And if you will commit to making sure there's at least one thing on your to-do list that has a star by it, and the first thing you do that day is fill out your application for graduate school, or write a letter to a publisher, or go online and read a book about how to get started in having a better retirement plan. That will help you get into the frame of mind, into the life discipline to help you achieve your big ticket items, your big dreams. The third cornerstone is speed. When I was in business school, we studied something called the learning curve. And it's literally a curve that goes down like this and then sort of flattens out. When you start something brand new, you're very high on the learning curve. You learn a lot fast and you move quickly. And the more you do, the quicker you learn, the less expensive your product gets, the better you get at whatever it is. There's a metaphor. One study was done. They had 2 groups of people making ceramic pots. One group, they said, we want you to make the highest quality pot you possibly can. The other group, they said, we want you to make as many pots as you possibly can. And at the end of the study period, I think it was 30 days, who do you think had the most pots? Obviously the people who were trying to make the most. Who do you think had the highest quality pots as rated by an independent team of evaluators? The people who made the most pots. Why? The people who were agonizing over trying to make the perfect pot, that's what they were doing, agonizing. The people who were making the most pots, they were practicing, they were learning, they were moving quickly. And if you're moving quickly through life, this is a tie rule. I don't know if there's scientific background, but I'm sure it works. It will for you. If you can move twice as fast on any chore, you will accomplish 4 times as much. It's what's called a logarithmic function. Moving faster, you achieve even more. And I have a rule. It's a principle that I want to share with you. And I call it the forget it, the number 4, forget it formula. You can apply it to almost anything. And so let's apply it to something simple, grocery shopping. You've got to go out and do your grocery shopping. The first get in the forget it formula is get ready. Get your list ready. Think about what's the best time of day to go. It's probably not 6 o'clock when everybody else is off work and trying to do their grocery shopping. Get ready. Get started. You get to the grocery store, you grab your cart and you go through the. You don't. If it's not on your list, you don't stop and agonize, pull it down. You don't look at prices. You just put it in your cart. You get started, get moving, get finished. Once you're done, get out to the car and move decisively on to the next task. Get onward. The fourth get it. Get ready. Get started. Get moving. Get onward. That's the forget it formula. If you can apply that to getting up in the morning. You apply that to sitting down to write a chapter of your book. You apply that to getting your taxes done. Get ready, get started, get finished, get on to the next task. That is how you move more quickly through life and start to build your momentum, which is the next cornerstone. Before we get to the next cornerstone, one more thing about speed. Moving quickly does not mean being sloppy, and it does not mean taking shortcuts. It means doing what you have to do as well as you possibly can, but doing it more quickly. And if you do that, if that becomes a habit in your life, you will start to build momentum. Momentum is what keeps a bowling ball moving down the alley, what keeps a roller coaster car moving. Have you ever been on a roller coaster? Like gain a lot of weight and lose it, get in shape and get back out of shape and try to get back in shape? That is the power of momentum. And it's a pretty miserable thing when you're on this roller coaster. Momentum is what keeps you moving forward. John Maxwell, in his book on leadership, said momentum is a leader's best friend. And it's true. When you're on a roll, life is good. And when you start moving backwards, when you start slowing down, it's like swimming in jello. You got to start all over again, and that just sort of drags. What is the number one enemy of momentum? Procrastination. You do it, I do it, we all do it. Recognizing it and stopping yourself from doing it. Here's my favorite definition of procrastination. It is taking today and putting it off into tomorrow so that you're always living in the shadow of yesterday. And what a thing to be doing, to always have yesterday kind of hanging over you. One of the things you can do to combat procrastination, very simple thing, metaphorical visualization. And remember, when we talked about courage, I said, imagine your fear standing in front of you and go, ah! Well, what causes procrastination? Usually it's fear. You know, why do you put off doing your taxes? Well, you're afraid it's going to be hard work. You're afraid you may end up owing a lot more money. If you knew with absolute certainty that you were going to have a big refund coming, you would be much more motivated to go get those taxes done. So visualize that fear. Maybe visualize it as a brick wall. And watch yourself plow through that brick wall, smash it aside. Just create that metaphor. Plow through it a couple of times. Remember, everything happens twice. Once in your mind and once in the real world. Visualize yourself sitting down, getting the taxes going, plow through it. And once you've got that inner momentum going, then translate it into outer momentum and get your work done. If you're a fan of Western novels, you've heard the name Louis L'Amour. Louis L'Amour wrote more than 100 novels in his career. How did he do it? How was he so productive? One of the things is he never lost his momentum. He had an old-fashioned Remington typewriter, and as soon as he typed the end and scrolled the page out, before he even got up out of his chair, he picked up a blank piece of paper, scrolled it in, and typed chapter 1. That way he was emotionally anchored in his next book. That's a great metaphor for how do you maintain your momentum. You move decisively from one task to another. And one of the things that can help you do that, and something we talked about in a previous module, is just having simple rituals, having habits that help you. If you do the same thing every morning, the way Steve Pressfield, the writer, does. You know, every morning he gets up, he makes his coffee, then he goes through his rituals so he can sit down and do his work. And actually, if you want the advanced course on momentum, read his 3 books, The War of Art, Do the Work, and Turning Pro. Those 3 books are a great advanced course on how to maintain your momentum in life. One last thing about momentum. In life, it doesn't mean always plowing ahead, always working, never stopping. You have to take some time for what I call strategic laziness. And there's actually some research on what is the optimal period of time for intense focus work, and it tends to be around 90 minutes. After about 90 minutes, we start to drift, we start to run out of energy, and that's when if you change, you go take a walk, you take a nap, you have a cup of tea, do something, read a book, read a chapter of a book, do something different. It will help you overall maintain your momentum through whatever task it is you have to do. In the last module, I wrapped up with a comment from J.R.R. Tolkien in The Lord of the Rings, and I'm going to repeat that because it applies here. He had the wizard Gandalf say this, all we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. And that's what focus is really all about, isn't it? It's that we have a certain amount of time in life. You have a certain amount of time every day. It's the same amount of time that everybody else is blessed with. Your only decision in the course of the day is, what do I do with my time? What do I do with my money? What do I do with my emotional energy? And if you can focus it on your purpose, on your vision, on the things that really matter to you, you'll be much happier, you'll be much more successful. But if you really want to be happy, if you really want to be successful, and if you want to be focused on those things, it also takes enthusiasm. And that's core action value number 10, and we'll cover that the next time. I'll see you then.